Wrestling fans know the WWE isn't afraid to ditch a storyline midstream, often leaving fans to ask, what happened? Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at 10 unresolved WWE storylines. Number 1. Various buried alive matches. With various WWE superstars competing in matches where they won by, well, burying their opponents alive. The Undertaker, KANE and Mankind have all lost buried alive matches with no follow-up as to how they escaped what seemed like certain death. As you probably know, a secret compartment is located in the grave, allowing superstars to escape to safety before the dirt is piled on. However, the WWE treats what should be a lethal match as just another way to write a wrestler off for a few months, without giving the fans the courtesy of an explanation. Number 2. Just Joe. The Attitude Era featured a number of storylines with everyone ranging from mid-card acts such as Crash Holly to the main eventers like The Undertaker and The Rock. Somewhere in between was Just Joe, aka Joey Legend, a nondescript guy who could usually be found backstage passing on rumours and presumably stirring the pot as to cause strife backstage. The WWF seemed to be building Joe as an obnoxious troublemaker, but it didn't last long and he disappeared without any reason for him going away when he was released in March of 2001, less than a year after his TV debut in the summer of 2000. Number 3. Being crushed by a car. While WWE superstars are said to be athletes capable of withstanding tremendous amounts of punishment, they sometimes endure things that no one short of Superman could survive. One of the biggest examples is when Stone Cold Steve Austin took a forklift and raised Triple H's car, with Triple H inside, up to 30 feet in the air, before dropping it down roof first. Austin was fighting Triple H at the 2000 Survivor Series in a no disqualification match when Steve Austin decided to end the match and presumably end the game. Nonetheless, Triple H returned a few weeks later, apparently tapping into the potions of healing on stock for whenever a superstar such as John Cena or The Rock are hit by motor vehicles during a night's work. Number 4. The Undertaker buries Paul Bearer in cement. The Undertaker and manager Paul Bearer were one of the greatest wrestling manager pairs in WWE history, but at times their on-air screen relationship could get downright bizarre, whether it was Bearer betraying The Undertaker to manage other wrestlers such as Mankind or Taker's storyline half-brother KANE. At 2004's Great American Bash pay-per-view, The Undertaker fought the Dudley Boys in a handicap match with the provision that Paul Bearer would be buried alive in cement should the Phenom win. With Bearer already trapped in the cement and the Dudleys' manager Paul Heyman controlling the cement, it looked like The Undertaker would have to give in. However, The Undertaker refused to lose and defeated the Dudleys, saving Bearer, or so it appeared. The Undertaker reached his manager, but instead of freeing him, he flipped the switch, allowing concrete to pour in, presumably burying Bearer alive. If you didn't know how the stunt was performed, a stunt double was on hand with an oxygen mask so he could survive the immersion in the substance that looked like cement. But it wasn't actual cement, of course. It was later mentioned that Bearer had survived, albeit suffering catastrophic injuries in the process. But the angle was completely dropped and Bearer returned to the WWE in 2010, looking better than ever as he whistled past the graveyard. Whilst they kind of explained what happened, how do you escape from being buried in cement? Number 5. The Imposter KANE. Some might find it ironic that Glenn Jacobs, the man who once played a fake version of Diesel, would face a doppelganger of his early days when he donned a mask and became the Big Red Machine. Back in the spring of 2006, KANE began freaking out whenever someone mentioned the date May 19th. KANE seemed to experience auditory and visual hallucinations as he was obsessed by the cryptic calendar date. Finally, fans learned that May 19th was important for 2 reasons. Number 1, it was the premiere of See No Evil, a horror movie starring KANE as the murderous Jacob Goodnight. And number 2, it marked the date when KANE's adopted family was killed in the fire that scarred him. KANE's woes worsened when his doppelganger showed up, dressed in a ridiculous looking copy of KANE's early days as the masked monster KANE. The fake KANE repeatedly ambushed the real one, leading to a match at Vengeance where fake KANE triumphed. However, the next night on Raw saw KANE beat up phony KANE, chokeslamming him, unmasking him and dragging him backstage. But that was it. That effectively ended the angle with no mention of who the imposter KANE was. While Kane stated he knew who it was, he never revealed a faux Kane's identity. Reportedly, Vince McMahon didn't think the angle was getting over, so he dropped it abruptly. Number 6. GTV. One of wrestling's most annoying tropes are how cameras are backstage during key moments, with wrestlers revealing secrets or dastardly plots despite the cameraman's presence. The WWE circumvented this by introducing GTV, a hidden camera that recorded WWF superstars at opportune moments, such as Al Snow picking his nose backstage, or Val Venus stuffing his tights with socks. The segment would then air for all to see as GTV, with wrestlers never knowing when their most candid actions would be revealed for all to see. For example, the WWF established a Stephanie McMahon test romance with a GTV segment showing the two leaving a hotel together. The first GTV segment was titled GDTV, which seemed like an obvious clue that the bizarre one Goldust was behind it. The WWF wisely dropped the D and hoped to turn suspicion to other superstars. When Goldust left the WWF, the idea of him being the mastermind behind GTV was dropped and the writers searched for a replacement. Reportedly, the idea of bringing in comedian Tom Green was suggested, but Vince McMahon nixed the idea because he had no idea who Green was, or because he saw his work and thought he wasn't funny. More likely the latter, as anyone who's seen Green's work can verify. The WWF also considered Headbanger Thrash, but dropped the idea as well as GTV, never revealing who was behind it. Number 7. Who raised the briefcase at the King of the Ring 1999? 1999 saw the ongoing war between Mr. McMahon and Stone Cold Steve Austin take new twists and turns as wrestling's genetic jackhammer conceived every possible scheme to remove the Texas Rattlesnake from the WWF. One such gambit saw McMahon enlist Austin's aid against the mysterious higher power, a hooded figure who controlled The Undertaker and his Ministry of Darkness, and had masterminded the kidnapping of Stephanie McMahon in an attempt to force Vince to cede control to him. In one of wrestling's most disappointing payoffs, the higher power revealed himself as none other than Mr. McMahon. McMahon was more dedicated than ever to defeating Austin, but his obsession had cost him the support of his wife and daughter, as seen when Linda McMahon appointed Stone Cold as WWF CEO in revenge for Vince using Stephanie as part of his plot to fool Austin. At 1999's King of the Ring, Austin battled Vince and Shane McMahon in a ladder match for the right to become CEO. Austin overcame the 2-on-1 disadvantage and climbed the ladder, only for the briefcase to mysteriously be lifted out of his reach. This allowed the McMahons to win as the briefcase lowered for them. The question of who raised the briefcase could have been a great angle had it been followed up. Many suggest that the Big Boss Man was behind it, but this was never verified. Number 8. The McMahon Limo Explosion. Pity Vince McMahon, the poor billionaire who seemed to have lost his mojo after losing the ECW Championship to Bobby Lashley at 3rd June's 2008 One Night Stand pay-per-view. A dejected Vince decided to cheer himself up by holding a Vince McMahon Appreciation Night on 11th June 2008 edition of Raw. The 3-hour show backfired on McMahon as various figures from his past mocked him and berated him for being an arrogant SOB. A dejected Vince left the arena and entered his limousine, only for the limo to explode, leaving fans guessing as to what happened. The angle drew considerable attention, including some unwanted attention, as some believed McMahon had actually died. After making sure the press understood the difference between an angle and reality, a memorial service was announced for the following week on Raw, but the Chris Benoit incident took center stage, forcing the WWE to drop the angle. Fans still wonder where the angle was going to lead to, and according to former WWE writer Court Bauer, they had a major storyline planned. According to Bauer, the WWE was going to bring in Vince's real-life brother Roderick and introduce him as the anti-Vince, a kind-hearted, soft-spoken man who would have become involved in the WWE. Unfortunately, that's about as much as we know, because the angle was dropped immediately following the Benoit incident and McMahon returned without a scratch. Number 9. McMahon's $1 Million Mania. Vince McMahon is not the type of person who believes the proverb that the love of money is the root of all evil. No, as far as the WWE chairman is concerned, cash is king, and on more than one occasion he said,
"It's all about the money."
In 2008, Raw's ratings were circulating the drain, and rumour has it that the USA Network strongly suggested the WWE do something to resolve the problem. Naturally, Vinnie Mac chose the easier solution, buying his way out of the problem by concocting a weekly drawing for fans to win money from Papa Vince's pockets. McMahon staked $1 million of his own money, or so he claimed, every week, dialing up viewers who could win a varying amount of money if they gave Vince the password of the week. The contest proved to be pure comedy gold as McMahon seemed clueless at dialing a phone, even with his reading glasses on. McMahon's telephone troubles quickly became a running joke, but it was no joke for the people who answered correctly, with some lucky fans winning $75,000 to $250,000. In true Vince fashion, he also dispensed small amounts, awarding $2 to one so-called winner. The weekly giveaway didn't last long and reportedly did nothing to help the WWE's ratings. Things turned dramatic just weeks into the giveaway when disaster struck mere moments after Vince had given away $500,000. The set began falling apart as the floor gave out underneath Vince's feet and part of the set collapsed on him. During the chaos, Crime Time ran off with $1 million. No, that didn't happen, but it would have fit their characters. Actually, it was Triple H who ran out to check on Vince as EMTs checked on him, with Helmsley instructing the first responders how to do their jobs, while Vince cried,
"I can't go by leg. Don't move. I can't go by leg. Just lie down."
Unfortunately, there was no follow-up and fans were again wondering what the storyline payoff would have been. And number 10, the anonymous Raw General Manager. While authority figure angles have been done to death, give the WWE credit for putting a fresh spin on things, with the anonymous Raw General Manager who communicated via email during Raw, setting up matches and shaking things up for WWE superstars. WWE announcer Michael Cole acted as the anonymous authority figure's unofficial spokesperson, with fans speculating as to who might be directing things from behind a keyboard. The anonymous GM controlled things from June 21, 2010 to 18th July 2011, when it was finally revealed on Raw that Hornswoggle had been the figure guiding things from the shadows. There was no payoff for the reveal, although rumour has it that at one point, WWE writers suggested that Hornswoggle become an over-the-top character reminiscent of gangster films from the 1930s. The anonymous general manager, computer and all, returned briefly in 2014, the night after the Authority lost their power at Survivor Series. However, the computer's return was short-lived and dropped without notice, much like the other storylines on our list. But there you have it guys, 10 storylines the WWE dropped without any explanation. Would you like to see another list including some of WCW's forgotten storylines? Be sure to leave your comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.